Welcome back to the Fantasy Hockey Podcast. It's time for the holiday special. We start off with the Eastern Conference, the one that has the most black and white teams. There's really bad teams, really good teams. Now, if you don't know what the holiday special is all about, what we're doing this year is we're going to go through every single team. We're starting with the Eastern Conference, obviously, but we're also going to go through the West. I'm going to give you point projections for all the relevant fantasy players and also tell you what we think of them rest of the season. Should you be targeting them? Should they slow down? Should they get better? What are the indicators? All that good stuff. Pretend it's preseason all over again. That's the beauty of it. It's pretty much just like draft season, just in the middle of the season. Maybe that doesn't make any sense, but you'll see. It makes a lot of sense. I promise you. We've got our ugly Christmas sweaters on. We are ready for the holiday special. So let's start off first. We're going to go in worst to best order. And let's start off with the Detroit Red Wings, who have the second worst save percentage, 5-on-5, league worst at all strengths, league worst shooting percentage, third worst in shots for, mediocre power play with the league worst penalty kill. Congratulations, Detroit. No matter any way you cut it, you are terrible. Congrats.
Seriously. They also have the worst Corsi 4.
Yeah, and the worst Corsi 4.
Of any team.
Yeah.
By like a margin.
I don't think there's a single redeeming quality on this team.
Doesn't appear to be.
There really does not. Also, I should mention before we get into the show that if you want to follow along, our script has all the stats and point projections and everything for the players. So you can either go to our site, fantasyhockeypodcast.com, and under the episode link, you can find links to our script. You can go to our Twitter. We'll post them there. And if you're watching this on YouTube, it'll be down in the comments. So it's a really useful resource to be able to go back on or to follow along with the episode. So let's start off first in Detroit with Tyler Bertuzzi, the leading point getter on the Detroit Red Wings. And yet, I think he's like a 60 to 65 point guy the rest of the season.
Yeah. The fact that he doesn't shoot also like limits his fantasy viability. I feel like when I've drafted Bertuzzi in a few different leagues, and my thought was I'm hoping for a guy that's going to get some PIMs because I think a lot of us remember that sucker punch last season. And then like a decent amount of points from being top line. But I expected him to be the third or maybe fourth highest scoring player on the team, not the first.
Yeah, that's not what I expected at all.
Not good.
No, it's not. But in fairness to him, almost everything is right in line. The point increase comes mostly from a 50% jump in power play time. So that's been really helpful for him, is now that he's getting more consistent power play deployment. He's also starting more in the offensive zone, which is allowing him to be more offensive. Hits and blocks are down, shots are slightly up. Now for Anthony Mantha, who is the second highest point getter on the Detroit Red Wings. And we still have not talked about, obviously, the guy who we all thought would be the highest point getter. So what do you think about Anthony Mantha the rest of the season?
Well, I mean, obviously the injuries are going to slow down anything that he was doing, but I do think that he will be at something like a 65, 70 point pace at the end. Obviously he's not going to hit those numbers because of the games he missed, but I think he was started off so strong. I think that his pace number will be somewhere in the 65 to 70 range, probably closer to 65, honestly, considering the direction that Detroit has gone since then.
I have him more like towards the 60, just because deployment has been all over the place. If you could get consistent deployment, I like him more in the 65, 70 range. But without that, I like him more towards 60. And on top of that, his shot pace is very concerning, at least in these last 30 days since he came back from injury. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens if that stays low.
I'm not overly worried about that, just because he hasn't really had time to come back. So I'm hoping that's not going to be that big of an issue. He did get top line, I think, in this most recent game. So
now let's talk about Dylan Larkin. One of just the most confusing players to me. In my opinion, his pace should be 70 to 75 right now. That's what it should be and what I'd kind of still bet on, I guess. His shooting percentage is abysmal. IPP, dreadful. Shots are down 15%. You don't like to see that. Face-off win pace is down 13%. Hits and PIMs are down too. I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't be against trading him now, honestly. But I still think he could go on a tear at some point. I just don't think it's worth waiting for anymore.
Yeah, the weirdest thing about him is this 46% IPP. IPP is individual points percentage. Basically means the amount of times that he's on the ice and a goal goes in, that he's a part of it, whether it's a goal or assist. For elite or even good players, you should be in the 65 to 70% range. 46 is insane.
Yeah.
It really just doesn't make any sense for a guy of Larkin's caliber, considering what we saw last season, which all looked sustainable. So it's the biggest thing that annoys me besides that is the shot drop, and I don't really know how to address that other than that sucks. And it's going to lower his ceiling and his floor for that matter.
Yeah, it's getting hard to recommend waiting on him though.
Yeah, it really is
disappointing.
I still want to say that if he can sort things out, like 60-ish he should be doing better than this.
It's so crazy how bad he's doing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then there's only one other player on Detroit that's worth talking about, and that's Philip Roenick. I think he's like 40 to 45 point defenseman. His shooting percentage is a little bit inflated, but other things are still in line. Good increase in hits and blocks so far on the year. Shots are still low, but at least it's an increase from last year. I don't know. You agree with 40 to 45?
Yeah, that's basically where I had him at.
Yeah.
The fact that he has power play 1 now is definitely beneficial. He's looks to be the future quarterback 1 in general for that power play. So I think his ceiling is probably like 50, which is pretty good for a defenseman on Detroit. And he actually puts up pretty good bangos too.
Yeah, like I said, the bangos are up. And as far as goaltenders go, stay away. That's it. Done. Yeah. Nothing else to say. They're not worth streaming. They're not worth picking up and holding long term. Just nothing there, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think people might also wonder about Robbie Fabry and Andreas Athanasiou.
Yep, good calls.
Quickly, Fabry, it's nice to see him be able to do something on any team, which I feel like he hasn't gotten the opportunity to in St. Louis, really. So in Detroit, they could use him. Power play 1 is super nice to him, as he's been able to connect on that quite a bit, but he doesn't really shoot. He gets some hits, but he's not really anything beyond a streamer for the most part. And then kind of the same deal with Athanasiou. He always seems like he's on the verge of breaking out, but just kind of doesn't. So now I'm not even sure how he gets to like 55 or above. I think he's a 50-point guy kind of again.
I think if he would have connected with Carefoot, he would have become a 100-foot player or 100-point player.
With Kerfoot?
Yeah, not Neen attempt. That was so dirty.
Yeah. Oh, God.
Man, that was a dirty play. Okay, so there you go. That is the Detroit Red Wings. They suck. End of story. And really, it's hard to recommend any of them super long term. Even Bertuzzi he's on the wire in my points league. Now for the New Jersey Devils, the 3rd worst power play in the league. Yet, they're 4th in opportunities. It's just weird. 4th most power play opportunities, and yet 3rd worst power play. They also have the 3rd worst save percentage and 3rd worst shooting percentage. 2nd worst in Corsi for percentage. They're bad. There you go. And they lost Taylor Hall. What could go worse? Yep.
Their only good player.
Yep. Their only good player. Now, let's go in order again. Players that are leading the team in points so far. Kyle Palmieri is the first one to discuss. Insane shooting percentage on the season, and it's going to come down. It's absolutely going to come down. His IPP and on-ice shooting percentage is pretty fine. Surprisingly on the points, and his shots are down 24% on the season, which is not good. And his hits and blocks are okay, but not fantastic or enough that makes him worth keeping. And with all that said, I think he's like a 40 to 45 point player.
I think I'm a little bit better than that, like 45 to 50, but I feel like this is the story of Palmieri. He always comes out strong and then kind of just fades down the line.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing. He came out strong at the beginning of the season, now he's fading down the line. And he doesn't give you enough peripherals to back up holding on to him, really.
Yeah.
His shot pace, especially with his shot pace and hit pace being down. His hit pace are basically the same, but his shots being down is not going to help. Losing Hall, I mean, now what?
Now you just struggle.
I think New Jersey might have the worst offensive talent in the East at this point.
Oh, I think it's, I
get that there's probably a bunch of people, Devils fans that are very mad at me and screaming Nico Hischier and Jack Hughes at me, but not yet. So I feel like every other team has a few players that are just ahead of everybody on the Devils right now.
So let's talk about Nico Hischier. I think he's like a 50-point guy.
Yeah.
I think the pivot point is 50 points. A little bit more, a little bit less, somewhere around there. 50 points feels good. Everything is pretty much in line for him. Shots are down 12%, but that's kind of a theme on New Jersey, as you'll see in total, and a theme just across the NHL, really. When you start to evaluate, 256 players or whatever it is that we're doing, you start to realize how much the system drives how a player's shot production goes, right? If you're on a Pittsburgh, for example, who's seen a much better increase in Corsi 4, as we'll discuss later, you see players all shoot more. And with the Devils, it's kind of the opposite, right? They got worse. And so you're seeing that from everyone shoot a lot less. And so Nico Hischier, of course, is suffering from that. His power play percentage is actually decreased, but up now that Hall is gone. So, but you don't really want Hall gone, so I'd rather take the lower power play percentage on Hall, but whatever. His face-off win pace is up 37% at least. There's that.
Hooray, something to be happy about, kind of.
I guess. And then there's Blake Coleman. IPP is super high at the moment, 35 to 40 points. I'd say like a streamer, pretty much.
Yeah, but he puts up such good bangers that like he's got some viability. He fills the gap for certain teams,
especially deeper ones.
Yeah, a guy that can give you 40 points or so with 3 hits a game and 3 shots a game is pretty hard to find.
Yeah,
and then he gets good pims.
After that, there's a bunch of people to talk about that are honestly just streamers. So there's Nikita Gusev, streamer at best.
Yep.
Jack Hughes, I don't even think he's worth streaming or owning.
Nope.
Wayne Simmons, also kind of the same boat. Not sure he's worth owning or streaming anymore. And then the last person to talk about here, aside from the goaltenders, is PK Subban. What is your point projection for PK Subban? What does he finish at?
25.
I had 25-30. We both see it. Oh, man.
He's on a 14-point pace right now.
It's insane. He's so bad.
What's funny about this whole scenario, we've talked all the way through most of the Devils here, and my favorite player we didn't even mention, and it's Sami Vatanen at this point, which is so sad.
It's so sad.
He gets majority of power play time, and he's doing reasonably well. I actually think he can get like 45 points with like acceptable peripherals. He's not going to be blowing the door off of anything peripheral-wise, but he's not like Klingberg bad with peripherals. So, yeah, I mean, I've gotten him in a handful of leagues. He's just kind of like a guy that like I see what he's done. I'm like, all right, he gave me 2 points in 4 games and like a handful of peripherals. It's like, all right, fine. That's why you're on the team, I guess.
He's pretty inconsistent.
Never going to be.
That's the only thing I don't like about him.
Well, it's not too surprising considering it took a large part of the season for him to gain that top power play.
That's fair,
and he was hurt for a while.
On top of that, another thing that happened, he keeps fluctuating between this like 17 minutes and then like 22 minutes. He keeps kind of fluctuating between the two. He doesn't really have a consistent minute deployment. That's one thing I don't like about him either. The last thing to talk about here with the New Jersey Devils, is Blackwood and the goaltending. I guess like there's no starter in New Jersey, and that's because they all suck. Blackwood is kind of the definition of an average goaltender. In my opinion, not a long-term option. He's a somewhat good, solid kind of spot start occasionally when Money Puck or wherever has good odds on him. But other than that, it's tough to recommend him.
There's nothing that can save this team.
No.
Even if they had a good goalie, it wouldn't matter.
No. Now for the Ottawa Senators, who shockingly are not last in the Eastern Conference. They're third most in shots against, so very tough time for the goaltender. Yet they have the 7th best 5-on-5 shooting percentage. So they're actually pretty good at offense and suck on defense. Not entirely surprising given the talent that they have on the team. They've actually been all right. They're not terrible, but also not great. That's kind of where they're at. Goaltending is a huge sore spot for them. Yeah. But there is one bright spot on the team, and that's Anthony Duclair. Yep.
Duclair! Let's go.
There it is. Yep. Brandon loves Duclair.
Him.
Yes, he does.
Love him.
Have you ever heard of Anthony Duclair, by the way? I don't think we've talked about him enough on the podcast this year.
Yeah, nobody knows who that guy is.
Yeah, no one knows who that is. That name is completely new to me. And shockingly, to me, he's a 70 to 75 point guy.
Interesting. I'm a little bit lower than you. I think he's in his wheelhouse at 65 to 70 right now. Yeah, but I think that's going to be good enough to lead the team.
I agree. I think he continues to lead the team. And by quite a bit, too, I think there's going to be a big drop-off from Anthony Duclair to the next best in Ottawa.
Yeah. The only thing that makes me think that he might dip a little bit is his IPP being 80%.
Yeah.
Everything else is pretty sustainable, though.
Yeah.
And if he continues to see big power play percent time, really the key that could make Duclair into like even better than a 70-point player is ice time.
Yeah.
If he can get from the 16, 17 minutes he's been doing to like 18 to 20 consistently, I think he's the type of player that when you give him that additional deployment, all of his numbers come up.
Yeah.
Kind of like Bjorkstrand.
Yeah, very similar. That's exactly who I thought of when Bjorkstrand started going off. Duclair reminds me exactly of him. What is kind of insane, though, even though his shooting percentage was high last year and it's high this year, the kind of insane thing is it's expected goals versus actual goals. His expected goals is 12.5, and he currently has 21. And so he's outperforming his expected goals by quite a bit. And some players do that. Some elite players do that. And maybe, I don't know, Anthony Duclair is working himself into that conversation now. I think 70, 75.
He's got a shot. There's no doubt about it. He's got a shot.
He does. You're not going to get a better shot than this Ottawa team to make a mark.
Nope.
The next guy here to talk about is JGP, John Gabriel Pageau. Ridiculous
JG Pages.
JG Pages.
JG Pages, attorney at law. I don't know why. That's my. He wears a suit and he tries to convince you to pay him money to lose you lawsuits.
Yeah, and he's unsustainably high at them.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh,
yes.
That's what it is. And eventually he's going to bring you pain.
He is.
Pretty much how it is.
If he hasn't already.
Yeah. Ridiculous shooting percentage of 19. It's kind of insane. His IPP and on-ice shooting percentage are actually pretty fine. So it's really the goals that are the problem for John Gabriel Pageau. When the shooting percentage comes down, though, I see him as a 45 to 50 point guy. End of season.
Yeah, I gave him 50 to 55. He also has 4 shorties. Or not shorty goals, but 4 shorty points, which, man, he is just giving you all types of reasons to like him.
I know. It's insane, right? It's everything possible to be unsustainable. He's done it. Shot pace is fine, too. His face-off win pace is up 33%. Really, for me, it's just the goals. And when you bring those goals back down to normal, it's about a 45, 50 point pace. So maybe he doesn't come back down to literal normal for shooting percentage. Maybe he finishes the season a little bit high, which some players do when they're as crazy as he has been this year. But that's kind of where I like him at. And then there's Thomas Chabot, who in my opinion is one of the most properly rated defensemen of the year, or at least from the perspective of how I had him rated, and a lot of the analysts had him. He's the one that's kind of right on the dot. And wildly underrated, in my opinion. I think he finishes right around the 50-point mark. I think the 50-point mark is kind of the pivot.
That's where I put him, too.
Yeah, pivot at 50 points, a little bit up, a little bit down, somewhere around there.
Yep.
IPP is fine.
Just like Borietsky.
Yeah, just like Borietsky. God, how did he get 4 points against me? Against me. Chooses to do nothing.
I don't know. He also said he's going to stop fighting this year because he doesn't want to get hurt because he's on a career year, which is kind of funny. He was I'll make this short, but he was like, yeah, next year I'm making $0 right now. So I need to make sure people are willing to pay me.
That's a smart man. For all the concussions, I'm shocked that amount of depth is present.
Like, I couldn't imagine that I could have liked him more. Now I'm making $0 next season, so I'm not going to fight.
Yeah, I love him. Speaking of guys that are just crushing it in the peripherals department, aside from Mark Borietsky, is Brady Tkachuk. He's a monster. Shot pace is up 24%. Hits are up 58%. Blocks are up 48%. His face-off win pace is up 63%.
He might be the truest multi-cat monster.
Yes.
It's got to be him or Evander Kane, but Kane is only because he gets tossed so regularly.
I think he is my new favorite multi-cat monster. And I have him pivoting around 55 points.
Yeah. So I put 55 to 60.
Yeah.
But
he can't buy a power play point this year.
Yeah.
It's insane.
It's what a lovely man.
What a lovely man.
Don't like his face.
If you could get more time on ice and more power play time, I think he could be a monster. Like, he's definitely someone that next year I think is going to go too low for what he's actually worth.
Yeah.
I think he's looking forward. He's already someone that I'm looking at. And then there's the back end to finish off the Ottawa Senators here. That's the goaltenders. I really don't think any of them are a long-term hold.
Nope.
They're
None
also
of them are long-term anything.
Yeah.
None of them are long-term in the NHL.
No. It's such a hard job in Ottawa. Like, one of the hardest jobs in the NHL to defend. I can't recommend any of them.
Their system doesn't have, like, Philip Gustafsson. I think it's Gustafsson. Is the next likely one to be up, and he's not even good in the AHL, so I don't know what they're going to do.
Yeah, they're a mess. Maybe trade for Georgiev.
Francouz.
Or Francouz.
Francouz is the answer to everybody's problems.
He is. He will solve all wars. Now it's time for this team right here, the New York Rangers. Yep, they're so bad. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. Don't be fooled by their results. They are awful. I mean, Detroit level bad. Honestly. Genuinely that bad. Goalies are the only thing propping this team up. And, of course, Panarin and Zibanejad. But goalies are the only thing propping this team up. It's it. That's it. They play a we will die style. Like, you know what? You might kill us, but guess what? We're going to go down dying too. Or trying. Trying. The word is trying. I guess I'm as bad as the Rangers are. Here's a few fun stats from them. Third best shooting percentage in the league. Good, right? Until you realize that they're second worst in shots for. Talk about luck. 12th best save percentage in the league. 8th most shots against. 5th best team at limiting high danger opportunities from turning into goals. That's actually really good from the goaltenders. Impressive, right? That they don't allow dangerous opportunities to turn into goals. And yet, second worst at limiting them from happening in the first place. Wouldn't you think that if you have goaltenders that are super good at limiting these opportunities, you'd try to limit them from happening in the first place? I mean, that would make a lot of sense, wouldn't it? And yet, here we are. They're just so bad. They're dead last in Corsi for percentage, dead last in scoring chances for percentage. I said scoring. I meant scoring. They're last in high danger for percentage. They're terrible. And as far as goaltenders go, I wish I could draft Benoit Allaire. That's a sustainably high part of the New York Rangers is Benoit Allaire. Neither are long-term options, but they're fantastic spot start options, especially if you count saves. You're playing with fire. Granted, that's definitely what you're doing. But the Rangers let so many shots against, you're almost guaranteed a good save percentage normally. Because just so many shots go on net. Yeah.
Well, it depends on how good the shots are.
It does.
Once those high danger shots start going in, it's going to be real bad news.
Yeah, I think they are absolutely playing with fire, and I think they are going to collapse at some point, especially Hank as he's older. I don't think he can keep this up. And then we go on to the forwards. There's Artemi Panarin, which is a big bright spot on the New York Rangers. I think he's good for 85-90 still, even on this really crappy team.
Yep, I put 85.
Okay, so there you go. Similar. His shooting percentage is pretty insane at 20%. That's why I regressed him back a little bit from his current pace. His on-ice shooting percentage is 13.6%, which is really high, especially considering how bad the Rangers are, right? Like that's just not supposed to happen. And there's going to be trades, too. Chris Kreider is going to leave. Might trade Georgiev and bring up Shesterkin potentially, although I think he stays this season. There's so many promising things, though. His shots are up. His power play time on ice is up. So I'm high on Panarin rest of season, but man, there are some things that need to come down.
Yeah, definitely the shooting percentage.
Especially the shooting percentage. And then there's Ryan Strome, who's shockingly having himself a pretty good season. The big question with Ryan Strome and all the Ranger players is deployment. What is David Quinn going to do with them? And can it actually be consistent? And so for a lot of these guys, I'm going to tell you what I think their projection is if they keep deployment and what I think it'll be if they lose it. So for Ryan Strome, I think he can get 70 if he keeps consistent good deployment with Panarin or Mika. But if he doesn't, I think he's more of a 60-point guy.
Yeah, I'm expecting 55 to 60, especially after he lost power play 1.
Yep.
But, I mean, again, who knows over there?
Yeah. I mean, shots are up on the season at least. Face-off wins are up 73%, so he's seen a lot more time. That's just a factor of more time on ice. So that's good for him. But, yeah, it all depends on deployment. He lost power play 1, like you said, so not great. There's Mika Zibanejad, who's an absolute monster. 80 to 85 I have for him. Feel good?
I put him 85-90 as a pace at the end. Obviously, he missed some time.
Okay, I don't hate
just
that.
Because of the shot volume. The recent shot volume makes me even higher on him than I was before.
The only reason I didn't put him that high was because his shooting percentage is a tad high at 17%, and his IPP at 85% is also asking for a little bit of a regression.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, that's the only reason. And then there's Tony D. I'd guess pivots around 50 at this point.
I put 45 to 50
yeah.
just because he has an IPP of 62%, which is pretty nuts for a defenseman.
Yeah, I'd expect it more like 50 to 55 for him at best, right? Like I think that's kind of what it feels like. His shooting percentage is also really high at 11.5%. I don't think that continues. Yep. And again, the whole system, right? The whole team has a high shooting percentage. Effectively, everyone is having this kind of inflated shooting percentage, so everyone's going to come down a little bit. His shots, PIMs, hits, and blocks are all down too. So he's completely relying on this luck to be super relevant, and there's a revolving door of power play defensemen. So what happens if he ever gets moved off, right? That's the big question mark. Then there's Pavel Buchnevich, 40 to 45 points. No,
I didn't even bother.
Okay.
I consider him like a streamer in the deep league, basically.
Yes, streamer in deep. I agree with that. And then there's Chris Kreider, probably going to get traded at some point here soon. Shots suck, IPP sucks, hits pace is down. He's a streamer. End of story.
Yep. I threw 50 on him-ish.
Yep. And there's Adam Fox, who is now irrelevant again. I think 30 to 40 is kind of a range. Again, given the whole power play thing, He's so tied to deployment and occasional streamer option, sometimes rest of season when he's on top power play. If he's not on top power play, just not worth it.
Yeah, I didn't bother with him either.
Oh, you love the Rangers then. What about Jacob Trouba?
You know, I didn't even think about Trouba, but I think his point pace, like we saw him get 50 points last season, but I don't know that we can get anywhere near that again. I think he's going to be 40 to 45 without actually looking at his numbers. But
I put him 45-50. Shots are up 36%. Hits are up 87%, which is nice to see. Low power play percentage, so I wish he would get that top power play deployment, which he might at some point. He might get it back, who knows? But he's also getting close to multi-cat monster territory. And that's
he's always been good with multi-cat stuff.
Yeah, and now that everything's kind of increasing even more, and his IPP is low at 40%, I think that should be higher. Everything else looks good. So he has room to get better. And then lastly here, the last player to talk about on the Rangers is Capo Caco.
40-ish.
I have him 30-35. Yeah.
Yeah.
It doesn't really matter either way. I don't even know if he's worth streaming at this point. Deployment is so
he's
all
also
over the
dead.
place. And he's injured now.
Also hurt.
Yes, also hurt now. So there's that. The Columbus Blue Jackets, who lost Panarin, lots of people were worried. They are fourth worst in shooting percentage. They have a bad power play, sixth in shots for. One of the best 5-on-5 defensive teams in the league, though, which isn't surprising given that they have Tortorella. If they could get a bit more puck luck, they could actually be pretty good. And if they didn't have their entire right wing core completely depleted by injury.
They're going to have a super fresh rookie or Nathan Gerbe as their top right wing.
Ugh.
It's the only two options. Nathan Gerbe got called up. Nathan Gerbe. He's back in the NHL.
It's so bad.
He get thrown around by refs again.
So let's start with the leading point getter in Columbus, and that's Gustav Nyquist, who's really turned it on in the last 30 days. 13 points in the last 15. I still think he's a 65-point player at best.
I gave him 55 to 60, but I think I'm just being mean.
Yeah.
My notes here say everything about Gustav Nyquist is doing appears sustainable. 55 to 60. I don't buy it. I don't know.
Me neither. I mean, his shot pace is down on the year. His shooting percentage over this hot stretch, right, these last 30 days, 20%, which has actually gotten him up to a solid season-long shooting percentage, so that's pretty cool. His IPP and on-ice shooting percentage is also solid. Fine team power play percentage, but honestly, everything else is kind of very similar to last year, and he's kind of consistent, so I don't hate him. It's just don't expect
He's at a 59-point pace right now, so yeah, my 55 to 60 maybe isn't that mean after all.
Yeah, I don't think it's that mean, and I think 60 to 65 is reasonable if he can be a little bit hotter. And look, there's so many injuries right now that they may have to look at him to turn it on. So that might be an area.
He actually might be right wing one instead of left wing one at this point.
Potentially. I mean, he is a left wing, right wing on Yahoo.
Yep.
So potentially. Now, the next player here to talk about, we're getting close to just all the dead people. We're going to just be talking about a bunch of graves. Pierre-Luc Dubois, I think he pivots around 60.
That's where I put, yep.
Shooting percentage is fine, outperforming his expected goals. IPP is high, which is actually kind of fine to me, just because he's factoring into the offense way more than he did last year. So I'm fine with his IPP climbing a little bit. Maybe see it a little bit lower, but not enough that it would really make that much of a difference. Split power play thing happened in Columbus. Not great for him. His hits are down, but blocks and shots are up on the year. Very similar to last year, just with a very different composition. The way the points are coming in is very different, but all around, similar player to last year.
Yep, I agree.
And then the player that I, was very excited about, and I think it was like 20 minutes after writing his name down in the script and being very excited to talk about him, they said he was going to be out 4 to 6 weeks, and that's Oliver Bjorkstrand.
Yep. I put him for a 65-point pace.
I put him 70 plus.
Wow, you're even
I'm high
crazier than I am.
I know.
Although the fact that we just mentioned Bjorkstrand and Duclair are pretty similar, and you were slightly ahead of me on Duclair and now slightly ahead of me on Bjorkstrand probably just makes sense.
Yeah, I think it's just the way we're looking at the shooting percentages or something like that. I think it all depends on Bjorkstrand. I'll keep Bjorkstrand short because obviously he's injured. But I think if he comes back and keeps that same deployment, and really high minutes, that's why I like him at 70 plus. I think if the deployment changes even slightly, then I like him more towards your range. The shots are up 62% on the season. He's on pace for around 300 shots. Yeah, That is beautiful. His hits are up too.
Love me a volume shooter.
Yep, definitely a volume shooter. Over the 3 shots a game, which is your kind of marker for a volume shooter. He's also
3 shots a game is my marker for I like you. And then anything above that is okay.
I love you.
Once I see like a pace of like 280, I'm like, woo.
That's why you're married to Ovechkin and everyone else is kind of working their way up to him.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's a weird analogy. I'm never using that again in my life. Made me uncomfortable. Ugh. Okay, and then there's Seth Jones. Pivot around 50 points, I think. Kind of his normal Seth Jones kind of thing.
Yeah. He's put him 45 to 50.
Yeah. Virtually the same player as last year.
Potentially more if he can get power play 1 for good.
Yeah. But who has ever gotten power play 1 for good in Columbus recently?
Right.
It hasn't happened, really. I'd like to see higher on-ice shooting percentage, but other than that, I mean, he is who he was last year. Hits are down, blocks are up. So just, again, a little bit of a different composition depending on how that matters for you. Then there's Cam Atkinson, who was also a Grave. So talking to his tombstone here.
I think he's actually like just in trouble in general, even if he wasn't a Grave.
Yeah.
I mean, with Bjorkstrand taking over right wing 1 and like doing such a good job with it, Atkinson is finding himself in Skinner territory, where despite being a volume shooter, he just isn't going to be able to get it done.
Atkinson does have a crazy low shooting percentage at the moment of 8%, though. So it's not...
Yeah, but he's also getting crazy low ice time now.
Yeah.
So even if he brings that back up, he's in the doghouse.
And his power play percentage is evaporated. It's gone.
Yeah.
What
I had him at 50 to 55.
Oh, I had him at 45, 50. I had him lower than you.
Oh, look at that.
Look at that. That's not great. That's not pretty
That's
at all.
a pace for me, too. So, like, even if he plays... Well,
and then there's Zach Werenski.
Rip.
45, 50. Feel fine?
Yeah. Pretty much in the same... Him and Jones kind of similar.
Yeah, very similar. Unsustainable
Except
shooting
Jones
percentage.
actually gets you peripherals.
Yeah.
But
the shooting percentage at 11 is unsustainable. On-ice shooting percentage is a touch high, but not crazy. Shots are up, which is nice to see. Still no real peripherals outside of shots. About 1 block a game. Nothing really to be impressed by. So
Werenski's a guy that I feel like should be on somebody's team, but I never want him on my team.
Yes, that's how I am too. I'm like, I can't believe he's on the wire, but I can't bring myself to pick him up either. You know?
Yeah.
It's weird.
It's like Ryan Suter.
Yes, exactly. It's very similar. It's odd. There's Josh Anderson. Honestly, only worth streaming for Bengals, and that's it. I mean,
he hasn't even been that great in Bengals this season. I don't know what's up with him.
I
the fact that he went back on IR makes me think that he was always hurt.
Yeah, same. I would watch him.
That was my first thought when he came back and was like kind of not himself. I was like, he's still hurt.
Yeah. I would watch him though.
Yeah.
I'd place him on a watch list.
Yeah.
His shooting percentage is 1.6%. 1.6. His on-ice shooting percentage.
Plus, with all the injuries, like if he comes back, you'd imagine he's going to be thrust. He has to be put in a position to do something. So
his IPP is 30% versus last year's 58%. There's just so much room for him to get better that I think there's going to be a stretch at some point where he just turns it on, and you're going to want to be in on that. So I would just place him on a watch list and kind of pay attention to him. But other than that, he's not worth it. And then there's the back end, which is the goaltenders. I'll start with Merzlikins. He sucks. Done. Not even worth spot starting. 25% quality start rate. He's terrible. And there's Korpisalo. Average goalie. Fine.
Strictly average.
Yes. Nothing special. Just good enough. Above average quality starts. So you can spot start him. That's it. Fine.
Cool. If he was on a worse defensive team, he would be not good.
Yes.
I think.
The defense is making up for
Columbus
a lot of
gives him such good pucks to play that he looks good despite being pretty average.
Yeah. I like his pads, though. His pads are sick. It's because I wear the same exact pads, but doesn't matter. I didn't expect to talk about the Tampa Bay Lightning this early on in the show when talking about teams in ascending order in terms of points in the standings.
It doesn't make a lot of sense, does it?
They're seventh best Corsi 4 percentage team, 5th best high danger 4 percentage team, 2nd best power play, and 14th in opportunities. This team should not be this bad.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of shocking. I mean, you got to point at the goaltenders for one. Obviously, that's a big area of concern. But let's forget about the goaltenders for a second, and let's go into the forwards immediately. So let's talk about Nikita Kucherov. I know a lot of people were freaking out early, but I still have him pinned for 90 to 95.
Wow, I have him higher than that.
Really?
Yeah, I have him at 105.
Interesting. I have him at 90 to 95 for a few reasons. His shooting percentage is a tad low for him at 12.3%. Shots are back to in pace, or back to being on pace. They're insane over the last 30 days, and I think he finishes the season with more shots than last year. The IPP is a touch low, as is his on-ice shooting percentage, and his power play shooting percentage is lower than last year, 9% versus 22%. So I have a few things there. I think his power play shooting percentage doesn't get back to last year's numbers. So I think
No.
that's one area that it kind of comes down, right? So that's one area where he's going to lose a few points. On top of that, I think that the on-ice shooting percentage is going to stay a touch lower rest of season on the Tampa Bay Lightning. I don't think they're going to get up to their crazy shooting percentage levels that they were at last year.
I think they're closer than it is now, though.
Yeah, I agree. I think it gets a little bit better, right? That's why I'm putting him at like 90 and 95.
Yeah. Well, I mean, right now he's on a 92, so.
Yeah. So I think he stays kind of within that range. Yeah, I think. Sure.
I think he's going to go higher. I think 100, 105 is reasonable for him, but
okay.
I guess we'll see. I also like that lately he's been getting closer to last year's power play percent numbers.
Yeah.
He played a little bit less on the power play so far, except for recently. So I think there's room for improvement, but we'll see if he can prove me wrong on that one.
You got to hope.
You got to hope.
So what about
I don't have any shares of him, so I could care less, honestly. But
yeah, you do have a share of this guy, though, because I traded him to you. Steven Stamkos.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I'm saying 85-90.
You're gonna think this is kind of crazy. I put him at 75-80.
Wow.
Yeah.
Are you bitter?
No, I'm not bitter. Okay, maybe a little. I'm a little bit bitter, but it has nothing to do. I'm being objective here. This has nothing to do with the trade. Although I hate it. I hate that I did the trade. Although it's working out for me now. It's working out. Crazy good shots.
It's fine now.
He probably will obliterate his shot totals from last year. Low shooting percentage for him. His IPP is a bit low, but not too much. His face-off win and hit pace is up 20%. I just think that what happened last year, a lot of these guys benefited, and for example, especially Stamkos and Kucherov, benefited from guys like Braden Point, for example, having really ridiculous shooting percentages. And now that these people aren't having those ridiculous shooting percentages, I think you just see their points kind of come down a little, deflate a little bit. So that's why I have Stamkos more at the 75-80 range. Although I can absolutely see what you projected him for.
Right.
Then on defense, there's Victor Hedman. 70 to 75.
Are we not going to talk about Braden Point? We're going in order.
We're going in order of points here. Braden Point is down there. It's okay. He's not that relevant anymore.
Oh, boy.
I'm kidding. Victor Hedman, 70 to 75. It's a lot.
I put 65-70, but yeah.
Okay. At 65,
just because he's shooting at 9%, which...
Yeah. I would expect closer to 7 or 8. But here's the thing. Yeah. At the end of the day,
for me.
It doesn't matter that much. His expected goals is at 5. He has 7. If you bring those goals down to 5, he's right at his expected shooting percentage. So it's a difference of like 2 goals right now. It's really not that many points, right? Like, sure, he's shooting 9%, but it doesn't make that huge of a difference right now.
True.
So, healthy increase in IPP, though. Good to see from him, and his hits are up 50%. So all around, Victor Hedman is an absolute monster, and I think that he was maybe one of the most underrated guys in the draft this year from a defenseman standpoint. Like, I know we all talk about John Carlson and Dougie Hamilton and all that, but I feel like Victor Hedman just kind of flew under the radar and went a little bit lower. It just didn't get as much love as he should have.
Yeah, I feel like there's a lot of hype around some other players coming into this season, and people just kind of forgot that Hedman's still good. Yeah,
I think people were scared of injuries, things like that, and he's certainly proved them wrong. Now, the next one, now we'll talk about the guy you're thinking about. Alex Killorn. Yes, Alex Killorn. Minutes are up 22% on the season, even more so recently. I have him 65-70.
I have him 60-65.
Wow, so pivot around 65.
His on-ice shooting being 15% is kind of crazy, and I do think there's a chance he loses his... But I actually put 60-65, assuming he keeps the deployment. So.
Yeah, so I'm assuming he keeps the deployment. So it's 65, but I'd agree with you. If he loses that deployment, 60-65 seems right. His shots are up 17%.
I'm saying even if he keeps it, that's my projection for him.
Oh,
if he loses it, I don't know. He could be bad.
Oh, you think if he keeps it, it's 60-65?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so I guess we can say pivot around 65 in a way.
Yep.
Okay, I think a little higher. You think a little lower. Shooting percentage is high. His career average is 10% and got 12% last year. So I'd assume a few less goals going forward. Like you said, he's at 15 right now, so probably closer to 12 makes more sense. IPP is fine. On-ice shooting percentage is way too high at 15%. That should be closer to 12 to 13%, even on a Tampa Bay Lightning team. Huge increase in power play percentage now that he's getting that fantastic deployment. One thing to watch is his power play shooting percentage. If you remember, I compared him a little bit to Braden Point in one of the episodes, and that wasn't so much to say he's as good as Braden Point, but one of the things that remind me of Braden Point is his power play shooting percentage, which is at 38%. Last year, Braden Point had something very similar, and so Alex Killorn is kind of filling that spot or that gap that Braden Point had last year on the top power play, where he got to finish at that rate. and now Alex Killorn is. And maybe it's a thing on the way that they play the power play. But either way, it's still something to pay attention to because that's a little bit dangerous.
Yeah, definitely.
Now Braden Point.
Braden Point.
I feel like we're going to disagree on him, I think.
Yep, I think so.
What is your take?
I have 75-80.
I have 70-75, so I guess 75 pivot point. Not as bad as I thought.
Not that bad.
Yeah, I thought it'd be worse. Power play shooting percentage. What do you think I was going to say? Sorry?
What do you think I was going to say?
I thought you were going to say like 80, 85, or like something like that. So I thought you'd have him a little bit higher. Yeah.
Not that much. His 50% IPP is the biggest thing that sticks out to me.
Yeah.
But
yeah. I think I'd like it to be more like 60% for him.
Yeah. At least.
Yeah.
60, 65, I'd say.
Everything is still kind of in line, but he's just shooting less at 10%. So I would like to see him shoot more, but other than that, he's pretty much in line. I mean, it's kind of like what we said at the beginning of the season, right? He can be a 70, 75 point guy, or he can be like an 85 to 90 guy, but there's not really an in the middle. It's kind of like you're going to get one of the two Braden Points. We just don't know which one just yet. And that was kind of one of the difficulties of projecting him and drafting him really this year. Then there's Kevin Shattenkirk. I have him around 50 points, I think, to end the season. I think
45.
Yeah, 45, 50 feels right. Shooting percentage is a touch high. Doesn't shoot very much. Everything else is in line, but rest in peace power play time because he gets none of that.
He's slowed down as well.
Yeah, as well.
Understandably. He came off to such a ridiculous start.
Yeah.
His ice time's starting to dip a bit.
And then there's two kind of rando guys that people like streaming, and that's Anthony Cirelli and Andre Palat. Cirelli, I have more around like 55 points pivot.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then Palat, 40 to 45.
I would say 45, 50 with him, but
yeah,
whatever. I mean, streamers either way.
Yeah. I think I like Cirelli more than Palat, personally.
Yeah, I do too. Although he's a center.
Yeah, he's a center. So Palat they're both somewhat similar in terms of streamer options, but I think I like Cirelli a little bit more, especially in deeper leagues. Especially in deeper leagues, he's only 11% owned. I think I might like him actually as just a pickup option if you're in a really deep league. And 11% is a pretty good one. So now let's talk about the back end. Let's talk about the goaltenders. Let's start with Andrei Vasilevskiy. And all I can say is something is wrong here. He has not been right since the playoffs.
I don't want to speculate, but it hurts.
I don't want to speculate.
I ever drafted a goalie high.
All I'm going to say is something's wrong. The D is playing better in front of him. And I think he turns it around, but this is mental, it's coaching, it's injury. It's something that's wrong here with Andrei Vasilevskiy. Because if you like, I've said this when I did the bus watch on him, but you watch the games and he'll make great saves, and then he also just makes such stupid plays and such weird decisions, and it's like what is going on? It almost seems like he doubts himself. Like it's as though the playoffs, again, don't want to speculate, but it almost seems like the playoffs got into his head, and now he just kind of is doubting himself on a lot of plays. It's weird. I don't know what it is. And Curtis McElhinney is playing virtually the same as Vasilevskiy, so it's not like I wouldn't say go handcuff them because they're both kind of playing almost exactly the same in terms of quality. Now for the Montreal Canadiens, who I must say are one of the best teams in the league, surprisingly.
Yeah, it's weird.
Yeah, it is.
From an advanced stats standpoint, anyway.
Yes, from a number standpoint, they are. Now, there's a few surprising things. One, second in Corsi for percentage to Carolina, so they're actually really good at driving play and controlling play. 25th in all strengths save percentage. So they've been pretty bad on the penalty kill, but it's on 5-on-5 that their goaltenders have been pretty good, and they're 12th best at save percentage, 5-on-5. They're 27th on the penalty kill, which is what's hurting the goalies quite a bit. But they have the 9th best power play, and they're second in expected goals for 5-on-5. So all around, just they've been good. It's just on the defensive end, they've been a little bit questionable at times, especially when it comes to the penalty kill. And the goalies are also awful at stopping high danger chances. But they've got the third most shots for. So it's really a story of offense and sucking when it matters on defense.
Yeah, they're interesting because I feel like if they had better forwards, like snipers, literally one, they would have a better record significantly.
Yeah.
Because they're 22nd in shooting percentage at all strengths.
Yeah.
That's not helping.
Not great. No, that doesn't help at all.
Like they're able to put shots on net, but nobody's good enough to pick corners.
Yeah.
So it puts them in a weird position for that perspective.
Surprisingly, the highest point getter so far on the Montreal Canadiens is Tomas Tatar. Didn't expect that one. I have him at a 55-60 pace.
I have a 60-65, but
Okay.
I'm not sure anybody. I don't think anybody in this team is going to get above 65.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, his shooting percentage is really high, and his power play shooting
It is
percentage is
really high.
insane. It just feels like he's going to slow down at some point.
Yeah.
And then the other guy,
he does every season. I feel like he winds up good, and then you struggle to drop him until it's too late.
Yeah.
that's Tatar's curse.
The
curse
story
of
of
Tatar.
Tomas Tatar.
Yeah.
What about Shea Weber here? A lot of people have been asking us, can this keep up? He's old. Is he the real deal? I vote yes.
He's doing a lot of things right.
Yeah, he is.
His IPP and shooting percentage are a little too high, but it doesn't mean. I still think he ends at like 60.
Yeah, I have 60 to 65.
With good peripherals.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's the real deal to me.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's
Love
a guy that you love, and that is Brendan Gallagher. Sir.
Yeah. Brendan Gallagher, I think, is going to lead the team in points for the first time ever.
Interesting. So
but not by much. I think he's going to be 65-ish.
Okay. I have him 60-65. I think he battles with Shea Weber.
I think he battles with Tatar.
Okay.
Just because Tatar is, came out to, he's far ahead as it is.
Yeah.
But he might not be that far ahead. But anyway, the thing I like about Gallagher is he's recently been shooting like around 5 shots a game, which is, God.
You love to see
love
it.
that. It seems like as a result, his hit pace is down a little bit, but man, I feel like if he had a center that could get him in position, allow him to just, I don't know. I don't want to blame Deneau because Deneau is, we mentioned is more of a defensive player, but Gallagher with the right center, I feel like could, really, really put up some serious numbers.
Yeah, I agree. I really like him rest of season too. Even without that, fantastic center. And Deneau's the next guy I was actually going to talk about. I have him slated for 55-60. He's had a fantastic year.
He has. I would put him around 55, but I don't know. I just feel like I never want to think of Deneau as a point scorer because every time I've ever picked him up, he's hurt me.
Yeah. I mean, his shooting percentage is a little high at 14%, and that's why I brought him down to the 55-60. Just because I think when that shooting percentage comes down, you're going to feel a little bit, and it'll hit the points a little harder. Then there's Max Domi, who I actually think could compete for the highest points at the end of the season.
Yeah, he's going to be right in that 60-ish range.
Yeah.
Like that.
I have him 65-70 point pace.
I like him a little bit more, closer to 60, but I mean, I wouldn't be too surprised. There's a decent chance that somebody breaks out, and it's as good a shot as it's going to be him as anybody else. But
what did you say his pace? You have him slated at for point pace?
about 60.
I'm 65-70, so I like him more than you.
You do like him more than me.
I do. Healthy shots, low shooting percentage, low IPP, good on-ice shooting percentage, good power play percentage. His low secondary assist rate is actually what I think is the reason for his IPP being so low. He's just not getting any secondary assists. And if you can get a few more of those, a little bit more luck there, that's where you're going to see the points come up, in my opinion. And then your boy, Joel Armia.
Another multi-cat monster.
Yep, multi-cat monster. Love to see it. He's almost like what we wanted Timo Meier to be this year.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
I'm sticking him at a 55 to 60 point pace, but with good peripherals. I think he's going to keep that shot and hit pace up, which is going to make him pretty valuable in most standard and banger leagues.
Yeah, I mean, his hits are up 37% on the season. His blocks are up 44% on the season. His shots are up 35%, and a pretty healthy minute and power play percentage bump. Yeah, he's just been fantastic. And then there's Jeff Petrie, pretty much the same player as last year points-wise, honestly. His hits are up, block space is down, pims are up, but points-wise, pretty much the same player. 40 points-ish.
Yep, 45 to 50 I put.
Yep. And then the only one left is Jonathan Drouin. When healthy, what do you have, Matt?
I didn't even list him. 50 to 55 maybe.
I
know he's been doing pretty well this season, but I just never trust him long-term.
Yeah. And the injury thing is just, it's scary. I have him 55-60, but the injury thing is not great. Now, Carey Price on the back end, one of my favorite-ish goalies the rest of the season, given how good Montreal is from a possession standpoint.
He's uncharacteristically bad this season because Montreal has been very, very good. If you look at their chart on HockeyViz, it's like nobody can shoot from anywhere near the middle lane.
Yeah.
It's just all the shots come from the sides, and somehow a few more than would be expected are slipping by Price.
Yeah, you can kind of point to a few things.
Nothing you can point at other than That's weird.
No, there's two things you can point at. One thing is his penalty kill save percentage is .835 at the moment, and he has an .873 save percentage on the penalty kill in his career. So his penalty kill save percentage is really low. The one place that you can absolutely point to and be like, what the hell is happening here, is his even strength save percentage. He's a .926 career even strength save percentage. You know what it is right now? .898. That's going to tank you.
Yeah.
So that's where he's struggling.
But I don't know why.
Yeah, me neither.
Because again, the shots are being handled well by his defense. So
yeah, he still has a .586 quality start percentage, so he's fine. He's one of my favorite ones going forward, especially for wins. But he's been a little bit inconsistent, and I think that at some point here, it's kind of a team-wide thing. I believe, we saw the kind of how bad the penalty kill is. I think they'll kind of figure it out together, and I think it's not just Carey Price that's playing. I think it's both sides. The defense needs to play a little bit better. Carey Price needs to play a little bit better, and once they do, I think we'll find a nice little blend of Carey Price. The Buffalo Sabres, the most average team in the league, pretty much. Like, they're just so fine. Nothing stands out to me, really. Third worst penalty kill. That stands out to me. Aside from that, everything else is kind of like cool, nice.
Yeah, nothing special about them.
No. Jack Eichel is special though.
Yeah, they're 6th best in the league at Corsi against all strengths, but 10th worst at shots against. Which is weird. So that basically means they're very good at preventing shots from happening at all. But if the shots do happen, they make it to the net. So they don't block really. It's kind of weird.
It's very weird. I mean,
yeah, I've never seen a team like that, but whatever.
It's the Buffalo Sabres. It's like the Buffalo Bills of hockey. Wait.
Yeah.
Yeah, kind of like that. Jack Eichel, I have him slated for 100 plus. I don't really know how high he can go. I just feel like 100, 105 is his floor.
Really? I put 95 to 100.
Really?
Just because his shooting percentage is doubled up and his on ice is too high for his line mates, I think.
I still think he can finish 100 plus ish. It's actually surprising his shots are down.
Yeah. Well, his shots are still crazy, even though.
I'd expect his shooting percentage to be more in line of 15%, and he's currently sitting at 18.5.
I would expect less than that even. I just think with his volume and the way his play style, I'm not sure that he would be able to keep up such a good shooting percentage. I expect more like 13. But
it's so tough to nail down.
Yeah.
So tough.
His on ice is crazy though. 15% is like.
Yeah.
I don't see that. That's why I'm like regressing so hard.
Yeah, I want that to be more like 12 to 13%.
Yeah.
And then there's
I want
Victor.
It to be less than that. I want to be 11 to 12. I mean, it's Olofsson and Reinhart. Like, it's not like the world's best line. There's going to be a lot of him.
Oh, you love Victor Olofsson.
I do. But, I mean, when you talk about 12 to 13%, you're talking about, like, Tampa lines and Boston lines. So
speaking of Olofsson, where do you have him at?
I have him 65 to 70, but I think if he shoots more, he can get up to 75.
Yeah. I have him 70-75.
Yeah.
Well, it's hard to say what his shooting percentage should be because he's a really good sniper. So it's really 17%. It's like, it's high, but is it high for him? I don't know. And everything else is kind of fine. He's shooting at 26% on the power play, which feels a little high. But again, he's a sniper, right? I like him for 70-75. I think that seems right. And I think he's a pretty good trade target. I don't know if, I'm going to... There's certain players that I'll tell you I think aren't being valued properly still. And to me, Victor Olofsson is one of them. I think he is someone you could reach out to and be like, hey, what are you thinking? And they're probably going to lowball themselves without knowing it. I think without thinking it, they'll lowball themselves. Then there's Sam Reinhart, who honestly, in my opinion, is a little bit underrated, especially from a points perspective. I have 60-65.
Yeah, I put 65.
Yeah. Shooting percentage is high.
Borderline rosterable because of his lack of shots.
Yeah, that's the problem. He's on a similar pace as last year. The composition has just kind of changed up a little bit. That's it. His power play percentage is still solid. So, I mean, he's fine. He's on our waiver in our 12 person, and I've eyed picking him up a few times now. I just haven't pulled the trigger yet. And then on defense, there's Rasmus Dahlin. I have him slated for 60-65.
Oh, I have him at 55, but with good power play points.
Ooh, interesting. I like 60-65. I think he can do it. I think he can go off here.
He needs to shoot more.
He does. His shots are down 32%. I feel like he's what we want Klingberg to be. with the low shots, high points, high power play points, crazy up power play deployment. He's virtually what we want Klingberg to be this year, and he just isn't. He saw a little bit of a healthy increase in IPP and has a good on-ice shooting percentage. So I like him, and I think he can do 60-65. I think we can agree.
More than 55, but we'll see.
Mm-hmm. So you say pivot around 55 or pivot around 60, but swing
55.
Lower? Okay, so you pivot around 55, I pivot around 60. There you go. And then there's Jeff Skinner, the good old $9 million man. What the hell, Buffalo?
Wrecked.
Absolutely.
Future buyout candidate.
Yeah, there you go. With the emergence of Olofsson, he is done. I have him at 35-40.
I have him 40-45. It just doesn't look good. He's been moving off power play 1 sometimes. Shots are dipping because of ice time in line. It's bad.
I dropped him in our 12-person league, and he's just sitting on the wire. So you can probably do the same. He's droppable. Absolutely. I hate him rest of season. There's Rasmus Ristolainen, 35-40 in my opinion.
Yeah, pretty much 40-ish. He always does the same thing. It's like 40-44, something like that.
Shots are down. Shots are pretty much gone. Power play's gone. Blocks are down. Hits are the same, but he's really not giving you much else anymore. He's a questionable roster at this point, honestly.
He's still good for banger leads.
Yeah, his hits are good, but that's about all you're getting from him. And you gotta wonder whether there's better kind of streamer options for that spot for Risto, right? Like if you were to dump him, especially in shallower leagues.
It'd have to be pretty shallow because he's still getting you enough points to be worth it, in my opinion.
And then lastly here in net, Linus Ullmark, he's got to be the starter now. They both have pretty crap quality start percentages, but I still don't trust him rest of the season, but he's the starter.
It's pretty interesting considering Buffalo's not doing a very good job of protecting him, despite how many defensemen they have.
Yeah, it's
like
weird.
I feel like they acquired every kind of pushed aside defenseman with Yoki Haru, and then they had Montour and Colin Miller. It's like they just scooped up everybody, and it's just not quite doing anything.
Yeah.
Maybe because they're all offensive defensemen. Probably doesn't help.
Maybe that has something to do with it.
Do they have any defensive?
Yes,
the first 5 people that come to mind are all offensive.
He's on long-term injured reserve. What's his name? I forgot who he is.
Bogosian or something?
No, it was somebody. It doesn't matter. He's on long-term injured reserve.
Yeah. I'm talking about dead people, as we always do.
Yeah. Always kill them. The Florida Panthers, a.k.a. the home of Bob and the home of my heart. Yes. Florida Panthers. 5th best shooting percentage.
Florida isn't the home of anybody's hearts, or it shouldn't be. Sorry, Florida.
You should not be this bad. Really, you shouldn't.
They're as far as possession, they're like the most average team that exists.
Yeah. 5th best shooting percentage, though.
They just kind of play the game. Yeah. That's it.
One interesting thing about them is they're actually last in penalty kills, or penalties taken, rather, which is surprising. And that's one thing actually to watch going forward is when you're last. Remember, penalty kills and power plays kind of align by end of season, mostly. And so if you're the last in the league in penalties taken, most likely you're also going to be towards the bottom in power plays received. And that's kind of what we see with them. They're really good on the power play, which is what sucks. They're 6th in the league on the power play, but they don't get that many power play opportunities because they don't take many penalties. I wish the NHL weren't like that, yet here we are. I think they'll actually be a really good team down the stretch. If they can get good goaltending, they remind me a little bit of St. Louis of the East. A little bit.
Except St. Louis is actually getting good goaltending.
Well, that's what I'm saying. You know, if there's a reason I use the word
if they actually had good goaltending.
They do have good goaltending. It just hasn't happened yet.
The endless leash for Bob.
The endless leash for Bob. There is no. I would jump off a cliff for Bob. I would die for Bob.
I feel like you've been holding the leash in New York, and he's been swimming across the Atlantic.
And then you know what I did? I went even farther to Los Angeles to give him a longer leash,
dragging him back to land.
It's one of those dog leashes.
That's December for you. That's why Bob's back. It's literally forced back onto land.
Yes.
After trying to swim back across the Atlantic.
Or what's going to end up happening is, it's those dog buttons where you push it and the leash comes farther. I'm accidentally going to push the button at some point. He's going to swim back across the Atlantic, and there you go. Bye, Bob. Anyways, let's start with Jonathan Huberdeau here. I have him slated for 100 plus.
I have him at 95 to 100.
Yeah. I think that's fair enough to say the same. I think 100 is his floor at this point. Sucks that shots are down, but shooting percentage isn't that wild, and IPP is a tad low. On-ice shooting percentage is a bit high for him. Power play is obviously still high, the power play percentage time. He's a monster, and he's underrated as hell.
He is. I don't think he will be next season once people see the projections next year, which should increase, you'd hope.
Who knows, man? He's been underrated for like years now, and he's been doing this kind of silly stuff for a while.
Yeah.
And there's Alexander Barkov, who also was super underrated and wasn't that underrated at the beginning of this year. 95 to 100?
I put 90-95. But I think Barkov finishes the season, like if you were to look at both of them from now on, I think Barkov will be slightly ahead of Huberdeau, but mostly due to time on ice.
I think Huberdeau will be ahead of Barkov rest of the season still. Yeah.
Well, you're wrong.
I guess we'll see, huh? How wrong were you about Hyman, huh? We're going to talk about the Hyman Hintz trade here?
Did Hintz do anything tonight?
Huh?
It was about the weekend. I don't remember what else happened.
Of course you don't. What selective memory, beautiful selective memory you have there.
I didn't check the scores today. Did you check the scores?
No.
Well, Dallas only got one goal, so he's not going to have caught
Hintz
up.
wasn't in on it. So Hyman wins the bet. Who is wrong now? Still me, somehow.
Was in on it.
Then there's Keith Yandel, 65 to 70. Worst shots this year, but what you see is what you get. He's a power play specialist that'll get you assists, and that's it.
Yep.
That's Keith Yandel.
But I mean, the power play points are what makes him valuable because it's so hard to find power play points.
Yeah. It's pretty crazy.
But I have him at 65 to 70 as attainable.
Yeah, same.
It's pretty good.
That's what I have too. It's pretty crazy to think of how good he could be if they were to get more power play opportunities.
Mm-hmm.
It'd be insane. I mean, all of them, right?
He's one of the best quarterbacks in the league.
Yeah, easily.
That's not even close to a hot take at this point, I think.
Easily. And then these next few guys here, there's a pretty big fall off after Yandel on the Florida Panthers in terms of quality and especially for fantasy relevance. The first one is Evgeny Dadonov, not as good deployment anymore, decrease in IPP.
Right.
And it's reducing his overall points. I have him for 55-60.
I have him at 50-55.
Okay, even lower.
But I said if you get back to top line, I'd think he's 60-ish. Yeah. So.
What about Mike Hoffman?
I feel like I always give him the benefit of the doubt.
You do.
Because I'm hoping that he was a power play guy last season. I think he's still a power play guy, and we've already talked about the issues going on with the power play over there. So I'm hoping for 60, but I think 55 is pretty reasonable too.
Yeah, I have him 50-55, so I guess we can agree on a pivot at 55.
Yeah.
Ekblad. Actually, I kind of like 50-55 this year.
I don't. Although I have not looked at him, to be fair. But I don't like him.
I like him 50-55. His shots are up 16%. His power play percentage obviously sucks, but he has a good shooting percentage, good on-ice shooting percentage, healthy IPP. He's getting more primary assists this year, which is awesome to see from him. His blocks are up. Hits have virtually disappeared, which is bad. But his points have gotten a lot better. I kind of like Ekblad. Not a ton, but I kind of like him just a little bit. And then there's Go for it.
I think 45, 50, and that's good for him.
Okay, so we can agree.
Better than I would have expected.
We can agree on pivot at 50.
I guess.
Ugh. Let's move on. How about the sad story of Vincent Trocheck?
Yeah.
Ish.
I still think he might be able to get to like 55, 60, maybe.
Yeah.
But he's not going to get any power play points. His shots are down. His hits are down.
Ugh. No.
Yeah.
50-55 for me. Everything was bad.
Yeah.
Streamer rest of season, in my opinion.
Yep.
How about that? And then the last one here I want to talk about was Acciari. Streamer.
Oh, God.
I know people...
I don't want to...
I need to do this.
I don't want to hear about Acciari anymore.
Let me do this.
I know he got 2 hat tricks back to back, but come on.
That's exactly why.
I can't hear it.
23.4% shooting on the season. 40% over the last 30 days. 16% on-ice shooting.
What is he since he joined Florida? 1 million?
I'm not buying.
Has he scored more goals than he's taken shots? It's got to be close.
I'm not buying this. Do not pick up Acciari long term. Don't make big moves for Acciari. It's not worth it. I get he's on a line with Huberdeau, but no, don't do it.
Probably not even the last, I don't think.
No.
So, I don't know.
Don't do it. Just
be careful.
Yeah. And then lastly here, yes. Always you save the best for last. Sergei Bobrovsky. Much, much better as of late. Doing really well with the high danger and mid danger save percentage. He's struggling a bit with low danger, which is funny, but he's actually gotten better since I did the bust watch on him. So he's improved his low danger. He's gotten better there. So I still think, God, I'm going to get flamed for this. I still think he's one of the best goalies rest of the season.
Do you?
I do.
Do you?
I do. I think he's going to get a ton of saves. I think Florida is a fantastic team who's starting to figure it out, and he'll get a lot of wins. And I think he can be a 9-2-0 goaltender rest of the season if they figure everything out.
You can have fun with the video on this one.
Am I? Maybe someone spiked my water. So what's your take on Bob?
I don't know, but I don't expect him to be much better than like a 915. At this point.
I can agree on a pivot around 915. I guess.
Fine.
I mean, I
don't know what's going on with his low danger save percentage. I'll give you that. I don't know.
Yeah.
But that's the unfortunate thing is if you're failing at low danger, that's the one I'm most worried about. Like, why is that happening?
Well, it's twofold, right? It's like on one hand, I'm worried about it. On the other hand, it's like, okay, well, that's the easiest one to fix. So.
Well, yeah. Unless you
suck.
I don't know.
Bob
what if you need
suck.
glasses or something?
maybe his contact prescription changed and his insurance hasn't kicked in yet. He needs it kicks in January, so that's why it's gonna be.
He didn't get his visa to buy American contact lenses.
Like I've said, 2020 is the year, Bob. Blah blah. We talked about this. The Toronto Maple Leafs, otherwise known as a team that does not have Sergei Bobrovsky. At least that's how I think of them. Rabid fan base. We know that. 28th in power play opportunities.
Standard Toronto stuff.
13th in success rate, though. They're 4th in the league in shots for, 6th in Corsi for percentage, average goaltending and finishing, good production on both sides. So, like, they're good at defense, they're good at offense, they're just not good at getting it done. The goaltenders aren't good at locking it down, and the forwards aren't good at finishing. They just need to get it done. That's the moral of the story for Toronto this year so far. And it starts here with Austin Matthews. I have him 90-95. I'm surprised.
Yeah, I put him at 95-ish, so that's about the same.
A little bit of a high shooting percentage, but other than that, kind of fine. Like his expected goals for is 13, and he has 23.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a lot. Shot pace is around the same, so I like him quite a bit. And there's Mitch Marner, who held out at the beginning of the year. I probably had something to do with getting asked who's the least hardest working player on the team. I'm going to do that to you one day. I'm going to go up to you with a piece of paper and say, who's the least hard worker on the Fantasy Hockey Podcast? I'm going to force you to write a name down and then be entirely shocked when you write me down. I like him for 100 plus.
I put 90-95. I think Martin's going to regress a little bit.
His IPP is a little high at 81%, but he did get a high IPP last year, so maybe 75% is reasonable? I don't know. I mean, Martin might be good.
I know.
He's fine. His shooting percentage on the power play is a little low. It's 7%. He shot at 19 last year, and so that's one area I could see him kind of improving a little bit. Is on that power play shooting percentage.
Yeah, but he's at a 95 pace now, so the fact that I'm regressing some things and bolstering other things makes me think that I think it's between him and Matthews. I guess it's not much of a take there for the lead, this point lead.
Yeah, and then there's Willie Nylander, 60-65. I have him at.
Yeah, that's what I put.
Yeah, what you're seeing
as long
is
as he's
what
power
you
play
get.
one.
Yeah, which is questionable. His power play percentage time is up 30% compared to last year, and his shots are up 10%, which is really good to see from Willie Nylander. And then there's John Tavares. I'm 70-75.
I said I expect him to get close to point per game. Actually,
interesting. It's going to take a lot for that.
I mean, pace wise at the end. Well, actually, I don't mean pace wise because he hasn't missed any. No, he missed time. He did miss time, so it won't be that bad for him to get there. I don't remember how many games he missed though. Not very many.
Yeah, right? You know what? Actually, 70-75 is what I have him finishing the season at. He'll have 70-75 points at the end. So yeah, that would probably be about a point per game pace rest of the season.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, the thing I'm seeing is his IPP being 60% seems low.
Yeah.
And the fact that he's only on 19 power play point pace seems low. Yeah. Although that is what he did last season, but I don't know. I just feel like he should be able to do more there. Yeah. I could be wrong on that one. Maybe 75 is a better pivot for him, but I want to say that it's possible. 82 is kind of a ceiling actually for me. So maybe 75 is more.
I'd agree with that. His secondary assist rate is also a little bit low, which may be factoring into that low IPP and on-ice shooting percentage there.
Yeah.
Then there's Morgan Riley. I promise you we will get to Tyson Barrie, except, quite frankly, we're going by points, and Tyson Barrie's at the bottom. So we start with Morgan Riley, who I think is a 50-55 guy this year. Feels a little
I put him 45-50 unless he gets power play 1 back. And I
yeah.
said if he does, then I think 60-ish is possible.
Interesting. That's a big pivot, too.
It is. I mean, because we know how bad, like, you need to be on power play 1 or you're not going to get any power play points.
Because the other power play sucks. It doesn't do anything.
Because Jason Spezza will just pick you, and then you'll get a shorty against. This will happen if you're on power play.
You are never going to let Spezza live that down. I mean, I'm guessing
he's never going to live it down.
Yeah, it's his own
I'm
fault.
sure he has nightmares about it every night.
I mean, if he doesn't, something's wrong with him.
I wish he had a camera. I wanted to see what that looked like from his perspective.
Yeah, same. I wish. That's the number one reason to put cameras
every NHL player needs to have cameras embedded in their eyeballs.
Yes. Do the contact lens thing.
Yeah.
So futuristic.
That's what Bob's been getting.
Yeah. Wait, Bob. That's why he can't see. Take those things out.
The cameras.
Take those things out. The next guy here is a rookie, Ilya Mishiev. I think we learned that that's not how you say it, right? It's Mikheyev. Okay. 50 to 55 points.
Yeah.
Shooting percentage feels low at 8%, but we don't know much about him. So maybe that is where he's at. No power play. Healthy shot pace of around 200 shots. He's a good streamer, but that's it. One warning I will have, even though I do like streaming him occasionally, he is pretty inconsistent. Only 44.1% consistency. So that makes him a pretty bad streamer option for points. But he's pretty good for shots. So at least there's that.
I would like it. I don't know how he hasn't found his way on the power play at this point.
Either. He hasn't even gotten a look.
Yep.
It's weird.
Weird.
You know who has gotten a look and still sucks is Tyson Barrie.
Yep.
Tried to tell you. So people got a little too
He sure did talk a lot of trash after Babcock got fired. Had that good game, and he was like, "You're going to see a lot more of this," and then we kind of didn't.
Yep.
Although, I mean, he has been better than he was, but he's still like a 40-point guy. I don't know.
I have him 35-40. I think he's entirely droppable at this point.
That's what I put him to. Especially if he loses that power play 1, which I do think is going to happen at some point, then he's right back to getting 35.
He's been awful over this last stretch. I don't get why they haven't moved him off top power play yet. I don't get it.
Yeah,
I know I'm going to have some
1 power play point in the last month.
And I know I'm about to get flamed, and everyone's going to be like, "Oh, but Tyson Barrie is so good on the power play." But like, no, he's not. He's not.
There's a different system. There's a different system when he was good on the power play.
He's not good. I think he's
the Colorado system. Him just clapping shots worked pretty well, but that's not how Toronto works.
Nope. And they don't have Kadri in front of the net anymore, which doesn't help.
Yep.
And then the last guy here to talk about is just Muzzin, who's a hit and block guy, and that's about it. I would say that his hits and blocks, while good, it does beg the question of there's a chance that a streamer spot could be worth more than him just because you can maximize those hits and blocks, and they might add up to more than Jake Muzzin, at least when you have a tough schedule or tough matchup.
Yep, I agree.
And then there's the goaltender. In my opinion, Freddie Anderson is one of the best goaltenders the rest of the season.
Yeah, I like him. I don't know if I like him as one of the best.
I think he's a top 5.
Maybe. I just worry about he's never been as good as he's playing right now at high danger, and I don't know if I'm going to expect him to be able to do that.
Yeah.
I also still don't trust the right side of Toronto's defense.
Yeah.
I think there's availability there to be exploited.
A few of the things I like, though, 6-2-1 quality start percentage. You can rely on him almost every night. There's literally no other options in Toronto. I mean, they do not have another goaltender, which is something to watch as well for Freddie Anderson, is they could try to acquire one at the deadline. A Georgiev, for example, could be a great fit for them. He has a 9.19 save percentage, 2.52 goals against average, and 8.5 goals saved above average. So he's been pretty fantastic, and I know a lot of people have been kind of angry at him, but I think he's been fantastic given what the workload that is expected of him.
Yeah,
and
I agree.
So I'm fine on him, and especially with guys like Vasilevsky and Bob kind of floundering, I think he easily works his way into top 5 if this continues. The Philadelphia Flyers, 5th best in power play opportunities, yet 14th best at converting them. So they're not very good on the power play, pretty much. 3rd best in shots against, middle of the pack goaltending, though. 5-on-5 is what's killing them. They're 26th in 5-on-5 save percentage. At all strengths, they're pretty good. They're 10th best at 5-on-5 shooting percentage, but 16th at all strengths. And that you can point to 100% to the power play. They're struggling there. They're a good playoff team. That's it. They kind of remind me of Columbus in years past. Good defense.
They've got a lot of depth.
Yes, just good depth. You're a fine team. You can do something, but just not good enough, I think, to overtake a lot of the teams that are going to be making the playoffs.
Yeah, it'll be hard.
Yeah,
to say the least.
The most surprising player to me has been Travis Konechny. What he's doing
Absolutely.
with 17 minutes a game is insane, and it's sustainable. That's the wild bit.
The fact that he's got power play 1 now is where I think that's the biggest positive change for him this season.
I have him 85 points.
What did I put down here? I was a little bit below that. I don't think he's gonna be point per game. I think 75-ish is about where I have him.
Okay, that's fine. Not fantastic.
Which is crazy. Like the fact that he might lead this team in points.
I think he's gonna lead the team in points. I mean, when you look at the rest of them, we'll go through the rest here. Everyone's just floundering. I mean,
yep.
The fact that Sean Couturier is the second highest point getter is just what? After the deployment that he started with, there's no reason Sean Couturier should be the second highest point getter right now. And yet,
I said 70-ish because of his IPP being so high. 80% or 82% is really high for Konechny.
But he had 72% last year.
Yeah, that's 13% increase, which is going to get him a good amount of points.
Yeah, I think if he falls down to around 75-ish, sure. And no one else is doing anything in Philadelphia.
You drop that 10% off, and he's at a 72-point pace. So
fair. I still think he can do 80, 85. I buy it. I'm fully in camp Travis Konechny. Not because I have him on my dynasty team, although that is a part of it. Aside from that, I believe in him. Sean Couturier, like I said, second highest point getter. I have him 65-70 end the season at. Shooting percentage is a little bit low, and I think that can come up a little bit. But everything else is pretty much in line.
I put him at 75.
Interesting, that's high.
Because it's the deployment change. He had to spend so much of the season screwing around on power play 2, line 2, and now he's back where he saw his great seasons that he's had with Giroux on his wing and Konechny on the other wing and power play 1. So every time he's done that, he's been an 80, basically a point per game guy. Yeah. So I think he finishes the season like that, and he can bring himself up, his point totals up.
His face-off win pace is also down 24%, which I should mention for those of you that have face-off wins. Then there's Jakub Voracek, frustrating as hell. I have dropped in my 12-person team, 50 to 55 point guy, I think. Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe lower, honestly. His shots are down 37%. They're gone. It's bad. Shooting percentage is a bit high also. His IPP is high, and he still sucks. It's hilarious, honestly, that his IPP is high, his shooting percentage is high, and yet these point totals just suck.
Mm-hmm.
It's just weird. And then there's Claude Giroux. Can we agree that center Giroux is the worst Giroux and it's not even close?
Yeah, stop doing that. Last time he played center, he had his worst season in a while. They put him on wing and he got 100-plus points. Wing again, he gets point per game, a little bit above point per game. Center again, and it falls off. Don't do that. Just don't do it.
I don't get it why. His face-off win pace is obviously up 33% for obvious reasons. More shots, hits, and blocks. Shooting percentage is fine. His IPP and honest shooting percentage are a little bit low, but I don't think it's enough to salvage this season. I am putting Giroux 55 to 60.
Oh boy,
yeah.
I put him at 65 to 70, but he's gonna really have to pick it up.
Yeah, I just don't see
his
where
on ice is so low and his IPP is low enough that combine those things and he should be able to find the points. I hope.
Yeah, hope. I don't know, man. I'm not buying. And then of course there's the Gostis Bears, and if we don't mention someone on the show, by the way, it's because we don't think they're that fantasy relevant. It means they're either just a streamer or just really not that long-term relevant. We're focusing more on long-term options here or long-term streamer options. Gostis Bear, for example, is completely droppable and not even a streamer option at this point. Moving on to the goaltenders, we got Carter Hart.
No, Ivan Provorov.
Oh, Provorov. Yes, I forgot about him, of course.
Yeah. Power play 1, 45 to 50, I say, with decent power play points.
And yet the power play sucks, so.
It's not that bad. Mid-pack. I'll take it.
It's whatever. I don't love Provorov, but don't hate him either.
I like him pretty good.
Yeah. Do you like Gustafsson or Provorov more?
Oh, Provorov for sure.
Interesting. Okay.
Because of the peripherals.
True. Yeah, peripherals. Points-wise, I think I take Gustafsson. Maybe. I don't know.
I think I'd still
close.
take Provorov.
It's close. Now we move on to Carter Hart, one of my favorite goaltenders in the league. 20% reduction in saves per game. The defense is playing really, really well in front of him, and a lot of that can be attributed to Alain Vigneault coming in and changing up the system. He's very much the same goaltender as last year from a save percentage standpoint. He's improved his high danger and mid danger save percentages, and I think he's going to be a great goaltender rest of the season. I know they want to do a split, but Elliott has just been inconsistent, and you can't rely on it.
Yeah.
So every time they say, "Oh, they're going to split," Carter Hart goes and takes majority of starts.
Mm-hmm. There's no reason to split. Elliott's just bad.
Yeah, no. Elliott's a good spot start, honestly, for wins, but he has a shaky save percentage of goals against average. That being said, they both have a similar quality start percentage. Carter Hart has a .591 quality start percentage. Brian Elliott has a .571 quality start percentage. So pretty similar, honestly.
The difference is when Elliott gets shelled, he gets shelled.
Yes, that's the problem with Elliott. He's either really good or just dies on the ice. It feels really fitting to follow up the Philadelphia Flyers with their arch nemesis, Pittsburgh Penguins, who, I must say, this is one of the scariest Pittsburgh teams I've ever seen.
Yeah, with all the injuries.
With all the injuries, even still.
Weird.
That's the crazy thing. They're third in Corsi for percentage, 15th in shooting percentage, 12th in save percentage, 27th in power play opportunities, and 22nd in power play. So they actually haven't been very good on the power play. That's where they've been struggling the most. And part of that could be, hey, maybe you're missing, a multi-generational talent in Sidney Crosby. They are fourth in high danger for percentage, though, and seventh in scoring chances for. So they control offense. Their problem is finishing. Right now, they're not finishing at a quality that you'd like. If they could start to finish, they are going to be super, super dangerous. And the person
if they can start to finish.
Yes, if they can start to finish. Wow. Quite a phrase. But if they can start to finish their chances. Yeah, there you go. I was missing a word. That's what it was. The person leading the team right now is Evgeny Malkin.
Yep.
If healthy, I think he's 110 plus pace.
That's what I put, 110 to 115.
Yep. If healthy, of course. That's always the caveat with Evgeny Malkin.
Super faded. I feel like we were, I don't want to be like, oh, look at us. But we were way higher on Malkin than a lot of, I still thought, okay, Malkin is a first-round talent that is being faded because of injury, especially in a PIM league.
Yeah.
And still, even our PIM leagues, you can get him second, third round. It's crazy.
I mean, we were roasted in comments for taking Evgeny Malkin. People were like, how could you do that? He was falling to the fourth round. It was ridiculous.
It's like, look, because he hasn't been worse than point per game in like 6 years. Like he's pretty good player.
His shots are up 25%. His face-off win pace is up 65%. His hits, pims, and blocks are down a little bit, but actually I'm okay with that. Mostly because I want him getting more points. I want to focus on the point side, especially with Crosby out right now. Everything is right in line, though. Shooting percentage, on-ice shooting percentage, IPP. The dude is a beast. You know who else is a beast? And I didn't expect it all? Brian Rust.
Yes.
We've talked about him a little bit already, but 80 to 85 is what I have Brian Rust at. If he keeps this deployment, which I think he should. I think he should keep power play 1 over Hornquist.
I agree. I put him at 75, though, just because I think his on-ice shooting being 16% seems like insane.
Yeah.
So I think he's gonna cool down a little bit. But I still think that he's going to end the season very strong. And, I mean, it's at this point, why would you move him off the line with Malkin even when Crosby's back? So I think Crosby's going to have to find another right wing.
Yeah, agreed.
At least that's how I would play it. Who knows?
Yeah, that's what I'd do, too. I mean, his minutes are up 20%. Shots are up 79%. You know what's one of the beautiful things? His power play percentage is up 1,190%. How's that for a number?
That's pretty good.
It's only because he went from 2% to like 70% now, or 30%, whatever it is on the season. But Brian Rust is very good. And then there's Jake Gensel, 85.
He also gets you hits, which is nice.
He does hit. Hits and pims, all the beautiful stuff. What about Jake Gensel?
I put him at point per game.
Okay, same. I have him 85-90, actually, just a little bit. I like that his shooting is up. That's the thing that I'm really excited for. And I think that his on-ice shooting percentage, which is the only thing that's a little bit low, should increase once Crosby is back.
Right.
Yeah. Because right now he doesn't have Crosby, which, speaking of Crosby, what do you have
Malkin, though?
What do you have Crosby's pace at when he comes back?
It's a complete guess.
Yeah.
Because we don't really have much of an idea of what's going to happen with him at this point. But I put up 95 to 100, which I think is what I had before the season.
I put 85 to 90 pace for him when he comes back.
Yeah. I mean, it's just total guess at this
It's
point.
total guessing work. Agreed. And then there's the defense here. Chris Letang, 75 to 80 for me. He's having an insane year.
I put 70-ish.
Yeah.
But I do think he's going to be probably like top 3 defenseman.
Yeah.
Or maybe top 4. There's been a few good ones this season.
He's been a monster. Kind of underrated, too. A lot of people haven't talked about him. And a lot of people were afraid of his injuries as well.
Because of his loving of getting hurt every season, he got faded the same way that Malkin did, I think.
Yep. It's funny that the team has the same... That's what they get for having Malkin and Crosby on the same team. They get injured players. Yeah. That's their curse. Mm-hmm. One guy I want to talk about, even though he's not really a hold, except for deeper leagues, is John Marino. 35 to 40 points, I think. Fine hits and block space. Good streamer and potential hold in deeper leagues, but that's about it.
Yeah, I agree.
And then there's Patrick Hornquist lastly here on the offense. 45 to 50, good for Bengals, but I think he loses power play 1 once Crosby comes back, so I'd say he's probably a drop candidate already.
Yeah, 45. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking for him.
Yeah. And now let's talk about the goaltenders. This is a tough one.
Oh, boy.
So last year, I just want to remind people, because I know a lot of people are like, oh my God, this Tristan Jarry thing is lasting so long with Matt Murray. DeSmith started 36 games last year. That's a lot of games.
That's a healthy number.
Matt Murray played 50. Tristan Jarry has played so far 16 only. There's still 20 games Jarry could play, and that would be how many DeSmith played last year. Like, I think this could last a while for Murray. I think he can get better. His expected goals against per game has actually increased 18%, and he's gotten worse. Or sorry, my bad, decreased 18%. Misspoke there. His expected goals against per game has decreased, so he should have gotten better, but he's actually gotten 11% worse in goals against average. So his saves and everything, his team has gotten better in front of him. He's the one that's playing worse, so he just needs to refine his form. It's very similar to last year. In the meantime, Tristan Jarry is crushing it. He
sure is.
His mid-danger and low-danger save percentages. 939 save percentage, 186 goals against average, 13.9 goals saved above average already, and a 786 quality start percentage. He should absolutely be owned in every single league right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially if you have Murray, you might as well just handcuff him at this point.
You might as well handcuff him.
Deal with it.
If you have a struggling goaltender, go for it. I mean, it's worth holding. You're not going to find a streamer as good as Jarry right now. He's playing fantastic. And the places that he's playing well at are the ones that you need to be dialed in for, those mid-danger and low-danger save percentages.
Mm-hmm.
Now for the Carolina Hurricanes, who is first in Corsi for percentage, scoring chances for percentage, high-danger for percentage. They're the best offense in the NHL at 5-on-5. And it's not close, yet they're not. Because they have the 18th best. They're 18th in 5-on-5 goals for. That's not great for a team that should be leading that. They're 26th in shooting percentage. They're just not getting it done. They're 5th in shots for, yet 18th in shooting percentage, all strengths.
It reminds me of last season.
Yeah.
They just like dominate the possession game, but can't really convert.
It's like we'll be in your end for so long that you're never going to have a chance to shoot on us. So eventually one will go in, and we'll win with that one because you just never even enter our zone. It's weird. Mm-hmm. And then the person leading right now on the team is Andrei Svechnikov. I mean, I expected big things from him. I didn't expect this.
Yeah, me neither. I expected peripherals more than anything.
Remember when I traded him to you for Timo Meier? Good times.
I do remember that. I liked it.
Good times. You know who he reminds me of? It's Travis Konechny a little bit.
Yeah.
A little bit.
I actually kind of wish that Svech was putting up the peripherals that I wanted from him a little bit better, but I guess I'll take the points. Yeah. Just unexpected.
What do you have him slated at rest of the season?
I put him at 70 to 75. I'm actually regressing him a little bit.
Wow. I had him 80, 85.
Yeah. I just don't know that I buy his increased shooting percentage or his on-ice shooting percentage. I think they both are fairly likely to dip a bit. So
yeah.
That's kind of where I'm seeing problems.
I buy the shooting percentage just because he's a sniper and he's never really been given.
I mean, he was a volume shooter last season.
Yeah.
Well, not really. I mean, he didn't really get enough ice time to be a volume shooter, but he models his play after Ovechkin, who's, I mean, volume, but he's got that one-timer also.
Yeah. I mean, he reminds me of connecting that 17 minutes a game, crushing it in the points department, and just being so efficient. And I think he can do it, especially on a team like Carolina that just controls possession so much and gives him good opportunities. And quite frankly, his lacrosse goals per 60 through the roof. So I think he can do anything he puts his mind to at this point. That's motivation right there. Teuvo Teravainen I didn't even notice he was this good this year.
Me neither.
I didn't even notice until I wrote this down. His shooting percentage is only 7% too. Insane. And his shots are up 38%. Insane year. I have him at 85 to 90.
Wow. I brought him down a little bit, but again, this might just be me being biased against Turbo for some reason, but I put him at 75 to 80. But I mean, you could actually argue that his IPP is low.
That's what I said.
And that his on-ice shooting is sustainable. Yeah. So he could be due for more.
Yeah, I mean, his shooting percentage is 7%. His IPP is low. That's why I brought him up a little bit. I think there's room for him.
But I'm seeing him like shooting less lately, which is a little concerning.
Yeah.
But it's kind of hard to. And his power play time was weirdly down in the last few games, but that's probably projecting a little bit more than is necessary.
And there's Dougie Hamilton, who we were shocked by, right? Because we never saw this coming. After I stole all the Dougie Hamilton shares from you, you brought it up, and then I was like, you know what? I'm gonna go get Dougie Hamilton. I agree with you this time. So I have him at 75 to 80.
I put him at 70-75. So I guess I'm just lower in general on Carolina than you.
Yeah, I think you're just lower on Carolina. I think they kind of figure it out a little bit. His shooting percentage is a bit high at 9%. I'd like it closer to 7, but that's not a huge difference, right? You're looking at maybe a difference of like 2 goals or something like that. On-ice shooting percentage and IPP are fine. Power play percentage is great. I love Dougie Hamilton the rest of the season. I think
his on-ice is a little too high. But
a little bit.
At 12%.
A little bit.
Not crazy, but...
Not insane, but a little bit. And then he
is definitely looking like a new Brent Burns, though.
Oh yeah, he is.
Which is quick replacement.
And that's a big phrase right there.
Yeah,
it's a big phrase. The new Brent Burns. Sebastian Aho had a slow start to the season, but he's starting to kind of figure it out, and it's mostly due to an insane shooting percentage of 20%. He had 10% last year. Where's this coming from? I don't know. I still have him slated for 80 to 85 this year, personally.
Yeah, I put him at 80-ish. Yeah. I actually think he's my bet to lead the team in points, but it's mostly because, I think his shooting percentage is going to come down, but his on-ice is kind of where I'd expect it to be. And you could argue that if his on-ice comes down, his IPP is probably going to go up. He's got a 60% IPP compared to a 70% that we saw last season. So I think it's plausible that he leads the team at right around point per game, which is kind of what we expected at the beginning of the season anyway. Yeah, I agree. And the face-off win pace is down 14%, which is the only other thing to note there. And also, I'd like to see his power play percentage come up a little bit because it's a little low for my liking at the moment. And then the only other person, there's a big fall off after those players in Carolina. The people under that just really are not worth talking about very much. The only guy that's honorable mention is Eric Howla, who I know people have freaked out about, but he has a low IPP, but an insanely high shooting percentage of 24%. So when he's healthy, I think he's only a 50 to 55 point guy because at some point this is going to fall down. Yeah, I agree.
Then for goaltenders, there's Peter Mrazek and James Reimer. Peter Mrazek is really struggling to be consistent, and it seems like we're getting closer and closer to a split between him and Reimer, and I'd argue Reimer should be the starter right now. 8-5 on the season, .927 save percentage, .231 goals against average, and a 7.57 goals saved above average. It seems like no one's really holding on to him long-term at the moment either, so I'd say that right now he's a great spot start, but I'd absolutely eye him as a potential actual starter at some point here, and just kind of hold on to him while he's hot.
He's posting up his best career quality save percentage at a 7.69, but he's been historically not good when given more of a role. Yeah. So I think for Reimer himself, he's better off probably split starting, but Mrazek is just... We've never seen Mrazek be consistently good. No. I think he's never going to be consistently good. I think he's just an average goaltender with consistency issues. Yep,
that's literally who he is. So for this next team, I'm going to let you tackle the intro because I think you're familiar with them a little bit more than I am.
Yeah. So the Islanders are finding a way to look horrible on paper but win games.
They've been doing this for
a couple of years now. They always look like they shouldn't be making playoffs. They shouldn't be doing anything. And then they go on like 16-game point streaks or whatever it was. The only thing I can see with this team and with the coaching, Trotz and Korn, Mitch Korn being the goalie coach, I don't know if they have some sort of lightning in a bottle with mid-danger save percentages, but every New York goalie that's that's played, significant games. So that'd be Grice, Varlamov, and Leonard in the last 2 years have posted up a 93% or better mid-danger save percentage compared to 88%, which is the average. So that's a pretty significant difference. And it's making me wonder if there's some system that is intentionally forcing these shots that look like dangerous shots that are becoming routine for the New York Islander goalies. It's complete speculation, but maybe that's what's happening. Maybe they're organizing their defense in such a way that they're intentionally opening up a dangerous looking lane that they have some system of how to defend, and that's why you're seeing this mid-danger save percentage be as high as it is. Total guess, but hey, if that's what's working, I wonder if that's going to continue to work, or B, if teams are going to figure it out and find a way around it.
I would argue it's Mitch Korn and a goaltending style thing. And they're just really dialed in. Mitch Korn is a big proponent of having a really good psychology on the ice, or mental state on the ice. And I think you see that the Isles goaltenders tend to not flub mid-danger or low-danger saves as much as other goaltenders.
Well, yeah, but the low-danger, they're fine low-danger. Yeah. They're not doing like Darcy Kemper stuff. It's the mid-danger. Everybody is significantly higher in mid-danger. It just... something weird is going on with their mid-danger saves.
Yeah, who knows? Maybe it's just, it could be positioning, or like you said, maybe it's a system thing. Who knows? One thing that actually that is worth bringing up on the Isles is that they're dead last in power play opportunities by a lot. By like 10, they're the worst, or more than that. Yet they are 10th best at converting them. Can you imagine if they actually got power play?
I wouldn't think they had a good power play.
Right? It's weird. It was really shocking to me when I saw it. They're also last in shots for, yet they have the 7th best shooting percentage. So they're literally the Isles from last year again with luck. Like, they just are a lucky team. But wherever Trotz goes, he just brings some... I have a feeling that eventually when we get more advanced stats and we have new ways to measure things, I have a feeling that we're going to discover something in Trotz's system that's not getting credited properly. Because I feel like his teams were underrated on paper in Washington. They're underrated on the Isles. There's just something he does that is not being accounted for. And there may be something to do with pre-shot movement or something like that, but they are not getting the credit that they're due, in my opinion. That being said, I'm actually surprised.
Unfortunately for fantasy, there's not a lot to go on here.
I'm actually surprised that fans in the crowd don't chant "This is the way" after the Mandalorian meme now every time, because that's pretty much how the Isles are. It's like, I kind of hate it, but I'm going to embrace it because it makes no sense, but we're winning, so it doesn't matter. This is the way. Matthew Barzal is the first one to talk about here. 65 to 70 points, I think.
I said he's the only Islander I think is likely to get to 70, or even could get to 70, really.
I think Brock Nelson.
Although I do think his goals are going to come down a bit.
I think Brock Nelson can get there as well.
Yeah, I think I have Nelson for 60 to 65 due to his inflated on-ice shooting percentage, but
his shots are up.
His increased shooting has definitely made him a valuable streamer, or better in some leagues.
Yeah. And then there's Anthony Beauvillier, I think like a 50 to 55 point guy, something like that. His shots are up a bit.
Yeah.
Shooting percentage a tad high.
I really don't think anybody else on the team is worth long-term hold.
No. Ryan Pulock.
I think it's like a bunch of like 50 to 55 guys.
Yes.
So like the depth is sort of there, but...
Yeah. Like Beauvillier is a good streamer. Anders Lee is a good streamer. Josh Bailey, not even a streamer. And then there's Ryan Pulock, I guess the last one to talk about here. I think I have Pulock slated for around 45 points.
Yeah, I got him 40 to 45. Yeah. Depends on his power play deployment.
Yeah, everything is kind of fine.
Jumped up a bit when he's put on power play 1, and then Taze has been back on power play 1, but I don't know.
Yeah, it's weird. And there's the goaltenders, Varley and Grice. Both are great. Both should be owned. A slight edge to Varlamov, but not a ton. Agree with that, I think?
He got 2 starts in a row for the first time in the whole season. Although he got murdered by Anaheim, his second one, so maybe they'll never do that again.
Yeah, maybe that's it. They're never gonna run him back to back again in their lives. They learned the hard way. Maybe the best offense in the league, the Boston Bruins, 6th in shooting percentage, 3rd in save percentage, 8th in shots for, 13th in power play opportunities, 3rd best at converting them, 11th Corsi for percentage. This one's kind of surprising. They have 71 expected goals for at even strength, which is pretty good. Except they've scored 82 in real life. So they're kind of outperforming what's expected of them. And that's because of one man alone. David Pastrnak. See, I have his floor. I think we're going to disagree on this one. I have his floor at 105.
Yeah, I put him at 105 to 110. So we didn't disagree. Are you dead?
I died. Yeah. I think I'm just gonna restart Boston because my brother called me and it like fucked everything up. Like whenever I get a call, I guess it turns off the audio going to my AirPods. It's just annoying. Okay. One sec. Perhaps the best team in the NHL and certainly the most offensive one is the Boston Bruins. Sixth best at shooting percentage, third best in save percentage, eighth best in shots for, 13th in power play opportunities, yet the third best at converting them, 11th in Corsi for percentage, and they have 71 expected goals for at 5-on-5, but they've scored 82. So there's a little bit of luck going on there. And there's one person leading the charge, and that is David Pastrnak. So where do you have him? Because I feel like we're going to disagree a little bit here.
I've got him 105 to 110.
Oh,
actually,
we agree. I had 105.
We agree. Hey,
wow, look at that! So his shooting percentage is a tad high at 20%, but that's because of his lethal power play shooting percentage that is 32% at the moment. He shot at 16% last year for context, so 20% is actually not that crazy when you give it. Okay, he got a little bit better, then sure. I guess 16 to 20 is not. When you have a guy at 16, I feel like 20 isn't that crazy, right? It's the same way when you have like a 12% guy, 15%, okay, whatever. It's kind of in the range.
Close to a standard deviation or whatever. Yeah,
it's a little bit of standard deviation. That's fine. His shots are also up 8%. On-ice shooting percentage, IPP right in line. His hits are up. I think this is the year for David Pastrnak. This is a breakout year.
Yeah, it certainly could be.
Yeah.
Rather, I just agree. I think it will be.
What about?
Although he broke out. I mean, he was at 101 point pace last season. Yeah. He just didn't quite get there due to injury. But
yeah, that random broken thumb that happened. God, I hate that broken thumb.
I think we might once again see the entire top line be 1.2 points per game or better.
Yeah.
Which is what they all were at last season.
I agree. I mean,
Bergeron is the only one that's going to be hard to get there, but he's doing everything right. The fact that he's not with the rest of his line mates is confusing, and it's pointed directly to his IPP being only 55%.
And his own shooting percentage, too.
Yeah.
Yeah. But his shots
putting him right now, he's at the highest shot pace ever for him.
It's crazy. He's shooting so much.
Mm-hmm.
So let's do this. What do you have Marchand at?
Marchand, I put 110 to 115.
Okay, I have him at 105 floor. So similar to Pastrnak, I think. Just because his shooting percentage is really high. Patrice Bergeron, what do you have him at? Rest of season pace.
Where did I put him? I put him at 100.
I have him 90 to 95.
Yeah, I just think they're all going to be. I think that Bergeron is going to level out a bit, and by level out I mean increase because he's the one that is making the least sense right now, which is crazy, considering he's still on a point per game pace or better.
Wouldn't have expected that at all.
Yeah.
And then what about Mr. Torrey Krug? 60 to 65 for me. Very similar player to last year, in my opinion. Pretty much the same. Very consistent.
Yep. I put roughly 65 with terrible peripherals, as we have come to know from the man.
Expected. IPP is really low. He kind of reminds me of Yandel in a way. Like he's a more expensive Yandel. And I think we might have said that in preseason.
Yeah. I think I said Carlson's a more expensive Yandel.
Yes, you did.
And then Carlson became even more expensive.
Yeah. And he actually at least gets peripherals now, whereas Torrey Krug gets none. And then the last guy to talk about on offense, and then there's a bunch, right? There's David, not David Krejci, we're going to talk about him in a second, but there's DeBrusk and those kinds of guys, and all those, in my opinion, are just streamer options.
DeBrusk is a trap. Yeah. He always looks good because he's got power play 1, but he's never done anything with it, really.
So David Krejci, where do you have him at the rest of the season?
55 to 60.
Okay, so pivot around. So I have him 60, 65.
Yeah.
IPP is low.
I think the fact that he's not going to get power play 1, and I don't know. Yeah. The fact that he has no peripherals makes him not, like, only in points only leagues would I even consider him other than a streamer.
And then on the back end, there's the goaltenders. Tuukka Rask, in my opinion, is a top 5 goalie rest of the season.
Yep.
That feel good? Yeah. Solid quality start percentage on an incredible team. And then there's Jaro Halak, who should be owned as a second or third goalie. In virtually every league, they're doing like an on and off thing similar to the Isles. And he has fantastic wins, save percentage, and goals against average. And I think that will
They've both been amazing.
Yeah. I think that this split continues. They kind of did it last year. I don't really see any reason for them to not do it again.
Yeah.
The Washington Capitals, the best team in the Eastern Conference and in the league at the moment. They are first in shooting percentage, 9th in save percentage, 23rd in power play opportunities, but 11th in converting them, 10th best Corsi for percentage, 6th best high danger for percentage, and 6th in 5-on-5 shooting percentage. A lot of numbers just to tell you Washington is good. That's about it.
Yep, to the surprise of nobody.
To the surprise of absolutely nobody. The guy who has surprised us is John Carlson. I expect him to be good.
Oh, yeah.
Not this good. It's been insane. Where do you...
It's been absurd.
Where do you have him going?
The season. So I have him at a 70-point pace rest of the season, which is going to land him at like 85 to 90, I think, at the end of the season.
I have him landing at like 90, 95 if he plays 82
It's
games.
just... There's so many things that point to craziness.
Yeah.
His on-ice shooting is too high. His IPP is too high. His shooting percentage is too high. His IPP is like where you'd expect a very good forward to be at 66%. Like a good defenseman is usually around 50%.
Yeah. Not even Brent Burns did that.
Yeah, it's I mean, he's obviously going to get obviously, but it seems like he's bound to get 30 plus power play points again. But the rest of the even strength points are not going to come at the pace they're coming.
Yep, agreed. Then there is Alex Ovechkin. How about him rest of the season? He's an interesting one.
Yeah, I think he's going to finish around 85%, actually.
85%.
His IPP feels a little low. That's the biggest thing I'm pointing to. The fun thing about him is I think he's a Rocket Richard. Oh, he definitely is a Rocket Richard contender again. He's trailing only Pasternak, Matthews, and Eichel. But compared to them, he has a 12.6 shooting, and none of those other three guys has anything below a 17%.
Yep.
So once again, we could see Ovechkin getting it if those guys regress a little bit.
I don't know. I think David Pasternak's going to win it. The way I see it, Ovechkin right now is shooting exactly at his career average. So he's a 12.6 career average shooter, and he's currently at 12.6, which means that right now on his current shot pace, which is up 13% from last year, it's around 49 goals. So I don't think 49 goals this year is the Rocket Richard number. I think he's going to have to be better than that if he wants to win it. Which, who knows?
I think it'll be close.
He could tear it up at some point. His on-ice shooting percentage is low, whereas his IPP is kind of right in line. So as that on-ice shooting percentage comes up, I think we'll sort of see points come up. So I love Ovechkin, and I can't believe his shots are up still. That's insane to me. Then there's Evgeny Kuznetsov, the Bird. Is that actually his nickname, or does he just do the... I think is he called the Bird?
I don't know. I haven't heard that one.
I don't know, maybe not. I just know he does that bird celebration. 70 to 75 points, in my opinion. Feels about right for him.
I put 80.
Okay, a little bit higher.
Yeah.
The only reason I did that is because honest shooting percentage is high at 14%. His shooting percentage is high at 16%. So I feel like those two are going to come down a little bit. And that's where you regress it down a little bit to that 70-75.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. Jakub Vrana, surprising one this year. There's still some regression happening. His shooting percentage has actually come down to normal levels. Minutes are up a lot from last year. His IPP is too high at 79%. I expect closer to 70 for him, which is what he was at last year. Honest shooting percentage is fine. Shots are up 50%, which is amazing. Still no power play time. So I have him slated for 60 to 65 end of season.
Yeah, I put him at 60.
Yeah. It feels fine.
This time on ice, like he was getting a bunch, and now it's starting to go away again.
Yeah.
So
yeah, slowly going away. So I think
all over the place. I don't know.
Yeah. And there's Nicholas Backstrom, who's exactly the same player as last year. I feel like he's always exactly the same player.
Yeah. My statement, my little short line on Nicholas Backstrom starts with, "Boring boy Nicholas Backstrom is still clipping along at his just shy of point per game pace."
That's literally Nicholas Backstrom. 75 to 80, always. That is him.
Yep.
He doesn't change.
Yep.
TJ Oshie, around 55 points, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep, that's what I put.
And there's Tom Wilson, very similar player to last year. His hits and blocks were up, but points-wise, very similar at around 55 points. I
like him, yeah. Last year, he relied a little bit on getting top power play to kind of bolster his numbers. But this season, we're seeing him do it without being on that top power play. So pretty encouraging, actually. Yeah. He's one of the I mean, he didn't get much last season either, so maybe it was just always even strength. But really working out. I remember his contract was under quite a bit of speculation because he got, what did he get? Let me. I
think it was 4.3 or something like that.
5.1.
5.1. Looking good now.
Like 6 years. Yeah, but it certainly looks good. He's the perfect complement to that line.
Yeah. And then the goaltenders.
And he's not getting suspended anymore, maybe.
Yeah. I mean, I wonder if there was a clause in his contract about suspensions.
Yeah, I wonder.
There probably was.
Although he got suspended last season, he already had the contract at that point. I think.
He did. But he's been a lot better. He holds up on hits where in the past he would just straight up kill people.
Yeah.
And then lastly here, the goaltenders. So Braden Holtby, who's doing better than last year in virtually every metric. Should be good rest of season for wins. Might be a slightly above average goaltender when it comes to save percentage and goals against. I don't think he's going to be an elite goaltender here on out. They make his. I explained this, I think, on his Bust Watch, but the Washington defense does not play well in front of him, and it's almost a purposeful thing. It seems like they're okay saying, you know what, we trust Holtby back there. We know we're going to make his life hard, but it allows us to be more offensive. And you see that with like Ilya Samsonov, who they defend a little bit more, but do get less offense as a result. So in my opinion, that's kind of the double-edged sword of Braden Holtby. You're going to get wins most likely, but he's just never going to be that super elite goaltender, at least going forward, in my opinion, because of the way they play in front of him. And Ilya Samsonov, for his credit, fantastic spot start option, in my opinion. He struggles a lot with high danger shots, which is kind of what a young goaltender does, but he crushes mid danger and low danger save percentages.
Yep.
There you go.
I think that Holtby was getting a lot of hate early in the season.
Oh, yeah.
I think that Samsonov was getting a little bit too much love. However, I do wonder what's going to happen with Holtby into season. I get there's a lot of speculation that he's not going to sign again. They're going to give Samsonov the starting net, which they may. But I don't think it's a completely foregone conclusion that they give him a short-term contract of some kind.
Yeah, they might.
But if they don't, somebody's going to want Holtby. So
yeah, I wouldn't rule it out just yet.
Yeah.
And there you go. That is the Eastern Conference. If you watched this whole thing, congratulations and thank you. We will be releasing the Western Conference one tomorrow, so pay attention to that. And other than that, thank you for watching, for listening, and also be sure to check out the script down below. Check out our Twitter for a special little giveaway that we'll be announcing during the Western Conference preview. And there you go. Catch you for the next one.
Yep. Thanks for listening.